Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former world champion Zerg in the blue, the fastest player in the game, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor, facing off against the Protoss we don't deserve, but the one we need right now. In the red, we have Hero. In a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown between the fastest player out there and the least predictable. I'd like to start off with some semblance of normalcy, some consistency, by asking you to smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe, help me count to the algorithm. Jimmy, what are we at? Just 1,673 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Hero starting things off with the Stalker, the Overlord hanging out creepily, just staring at everyone, which is, like, its entire job description, but still, think he's realizing right now that that gateway is up to no good. And Hero... So Reynor moves the Overlord back, anticipating something like a Stalker. The Stalker is actually what he built, slips out that little gap in vision, and is now stalking across the map. But what is one Stalker gonna do? Alright, he's gonna, like, graffiti some of the walls or on the hatchery. Gonna try to force out another half-dozen Zerglings to shoot going to mildly inconvenience an Overlord? No, you're fine. Yes. And that's it. He's going home. That concludes the... Well, another Overlord, and this one, the Oracle, gonna be pointing it out. The Stalker should be able to kill it. The first was a trial run, but this one... Well, the Oracle, yep, he's right there. Well, that's just rude. Alright. Overlord popped like an overripe tomato, and behind it, a Void Ray is on the way. So, Reynor getting some weird vibes off of this one. In fact... Well, he built another Spore Crawler, and he's scrambling the first one towards the third. So knowing that there's probably some shenanigans behind this, it is very odd to go for a Stalker, even for Hero, very odd to go for a Stalker, an Oracle, and then not come across the map. The Void Ray is like the Stalker of the sky. It's what low-level players build because they don't understand that just because it hits up and down doesn't mean it solves everything. And then you get all the way up to the ladder, to being the best Protoss player in the world, and you realize the Void Ray is great because it hits up, it hits down, what's not to love? Alright, if I had a list of things Hero does that he shouldn't get away with, but somehow continues to do, it would just be like a list of his build orders, such as they are. And another Overlord, a third Ovi, the massacre continues. As Reynor clearly not anticipating the Void Ray second, which doesn't even, like, you're not even hiding anything at that point. But, well, you're certainly not hiding the feeling of smug satisfaction that you get from killing those Overlords. But without the smirk, because Protoss don't have mouths. Another one? The Overlord massacre continues. The Queens try to make up for it, but no. Reynor just trying to out-macro this whole situation. The Void Ray stutter-stepping a bit, lights it up. The charge only doing bonus damage to armor, but all buildings and Overlords are armored, so... Even kills off the drone, which... This has been an inordinate amount of damage for such a tiny amount of units. The amount of strife that these 2 Stargate units have caused. And we can't forget the Stalker. Okay, the Stalker that started it all. He lit the fire. Or something like that. He mildly inconvenienced those Overlords. But behind this, Reynor, 66 drones, full 3-base saturation, though I don't know if that's exactly where he wanted to end up. Hydra is dead. Infestation pit on the way. Hero is coming across the map with some Blink Stalkers and +1. A more typical follow-up. Hydras and Lings, a more than capable counter to the Blink Stalkers, but it's a numbers game. Unfortunately, there's a lot of math here. Nobody tell Hero that, but half a dozen, actually no, see, there I go, counting again. Like 12 stalkers. And we have trying to take out the 4th base. Behind it, a stasis. Did Reynor spot it? It doesn't really matter when there are more stalkers than Zerglings, as the 4th base may be canceled yet again. Reynor actually gets the cancel at the last moment. Another stasis. Forced to pull back for now. Hydra's now on the field. And stasis catches a handful of lings, assuming you can fit like 7 in your hand. Big hand. Storm is now on the way. Hero actually has a worker lead at the moment. Stasis catches a few more lings. Void Ray back at home, working out things on the domestic front. And that Storm upgrade is probably the most important part of the next step of the game. Reynor clearly pumping out the Hydras. He's got Hive and a Lurker Den on the way, so he's not cutting off the tech tree here, but he certainly wants to branch out as quickly as possible. +2 ranged attack. Hydra range as well. That Hive, going to be important, but putting on any pressure he can on the 4th base. The Stalker is just going to blink right down. Stasis catches some of the Zerglings, but enough of them make their way around. Stutter stepping back, another Stalker, target fires, even more, can go over the top, blinks behind the minerals, and just prances away from the units for now. But Hero is not out of the woods yet. He might have a fleet beacon already in production. Storm nearly complete. But even though the tech is being filled out, Hero without well, this should tell you how important those gases are. Hero doing the classic Meta League move of taking your gas geysers pretty much alongside the... Okay, they're timed out almost perfectly for when the base finished, but still. Getting those assimilators the moment the base is... No, sorry. Freudian slip. Seizure. But getting those gases the moment the base is finishing, indicating how important it is to tech up here. You need to build Templar, and you need Tempest, which are both anything but temporary. The most important parts of the late game Protoss composition. Reynor, on the other hand, is kind of locked into this Hydra Lurker army. He doesn't have a hope of a Spire. In fact, there's Lurkers already online. Lurker range is completed, and a counterattack is lined up to start ripping through the cannons. Hatchery taken out before Reynor can react, but that means the army's on the other side of the map. 4 cannons are not going to be enough to stop him. And 6 Lurkers with range already ripping through. Back at home. Is there any detection? The Storms don't need detection, but there's not enough to stop the Lurkers, and he's not going to break through the defenses. Reynor will hold for now. There's not enough energy for a recall on this base. He recalls back to the natural, but the 4th base is already being cross-hatched by the Lurkers. He loses some of the probes. 7 so far. 71 to 83. The drone count is now significantly overwhelming. If he's able to get the base, doesn't target fire, but that Nexus is now a permanent liability. Reynor able to get the better end of the first late game exchange. Stasis will slow things down at the 3rd, but he's definitely not willing to let up. Adaptive talents for quick Lurker burrow now completed, allowing you to reposition more quickly. He has to know at this point the fleet beacon is on the way. The bacon is cooking, and it's only a matter of time before Hero gets greasy. Meanwhile, Storm's on the Lurker eggs. Looks like they will complete. Zerglings on the mineral line, and even more probes will be ripped apart. The Nexus itself targeted next. He doesn't have adrenal glands. He doesn't have melee attack, but he does have enough Zerglings to take out the Nexus. But the mothership comes in at the perfect time. Typical plot device. And Hero is able to turn around this fight. Knocks out a couple... Hero turns it around, but Reynor picks off a couple oracles on the way across. I don't even think Hero has a robotics facility. He does not, which means there's no more detection. He lost his oracles, and he cannot detect the Lurkers. Storms are good, but they're not good enough. There's only 2 Lurkers, but that's enough to stall this army out. A robotics facility starts. A conga line of Templar and their fancy capes will trundle across the map like this is Helldivers training. But right now, Hero does not have the army to attack into Reynor. A critical mistake, losing just the 2 oracles at the tail end of that fight. And that lackadaisical nature will cost Hero his opportunity for a counterattack and give Reynor another chance to take the initiative. The upgrade. You can tell how tense this game is by the fact there are no upgrades in production. They both have good economies, not great. But without any upgrades, that means we're just trying to build whatever we can right here, right now. Right here, right now. As Reynor closes in from both sides. The jaws of Zerg, far outstripping the non-existent ones of Protoss, and lurkers headed towards the third base. Reynor keeping the pressure on, and Hero holding up to it for now, but the mothership on the left side, Templar on the right, have their work cut out for them. And the lurkers cutting through. But detection just grinds right through the lurkers. Tempest overhead. A single lurker survives. Archons being pin-cushioned by the Hydras. The army's spreading out. But generally that favors the Zerg, with the lurkers spread out and Hydras working on things. A couple Archons and a Void Ray. Somehow the Void Ray survived. It's like a cockroach. Speaking of, we haven't seen any roaches. As Reynor kind of skipped that entire phase of the game. But the lurkers are keeping Hero busy. He constantly has to rebuild. He has to put out fires. Can't really start any of his own. +3 ground weapons completed for Hero. Reynor has +2 ranged attack. That's it. That is the extent of the upgrades. +1 melee just now starting. 13,000 versus 18,000 resources lost. Reynor has lost 2,300 more gas. Quite a significant number. We're still very early on. The Tempest patrolling around. Hydra's only cosplay anti-air units. They're very unreliable as actual direct ground-to-air. Without Corruptors, eventually the Tempest count is too damn high. Are we there yet? It's unclear. But here comes Hero. Reynor now has the mixed gold base. The mothership joining the fray. Active cloaking, only a single overseer there. The lurkers can be taken out. Reynor trying to come in from both sides. Mothership right down the center. Guardian shield, very helpful. The Tempest just blasting their way through. Tempest, I think enough Tempest right now to one-shot most lurkers. Definitely enough to one-shot Hydras. There ain't no kill like overkill. This army. Here comes Reynor from the left and right. The lurkers trying to close in. The Oracle really doing its best. Even the Queens are getting involved. The Tempest being taken down. The Templar coating both sides of the field with Storm. The Tempest so far have survived, but still some lurkers underneath, and there's almost no detection. A single observer, but the lurkers aren't the priority for the Tempest unless you make them it. You have to target fire. Everything on the ground is dead. A single Archon with less than full HP, which is exceedingly rare, barely survives to escape until its non-existent friends. What happened here? Reynor suffered some pretty heavy losses as well. In fact, he suffered more dramatic losses. It's just he's been mining, so the Warp Prism! Hero manages to lose the Warp Prism despite it surviving the entire fight. One lurker makes it into the... Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Lurker-eyed Joe? Meanwhile, though, there was nothing in the wall. Wonder how that happened. But that single lurker gonna drag some of the probes away and drag the mothership. No! Hero! Oh my. Hero, his mothership flies right over the Hydras. The Tempest taking another angle at it. And the mothership is taken down. The army getting drawn piecemeal. Bit by bit. And bite by bite. It goes from a Pyrrhic victory for Reynor to a much more decisive one. Taking out the mothership in this scenario, denying the War Prism, he's gonna lose the hatchery. And he doesn't have, at this point, the overwhelming army. And Hero still has a decent amount of probes. But Hero losing possibly the most important units in the game. Name a more iconic combo. The Zealots easily surrounded and pin-cushioned. Here comes the Tempest, the death. Well, not really the death ball, but whatever he could reinflate of it. And for now, Reynor just gonna retreat. He's got a Nidus network. and a Spire on the way. But without Corruptors, there's almost no amount of Hydras that can fight those Tempests without taking inordinate losses. But of course, the Hydras can slither away. The Templar taken down. A recall on top of the base. A bold move indeed. The Templar within lurker range. The storms wash over everything. A whole storm front coming through. He lunges forward. Several Tempests taken down right over top of the Nexus they recalled to. It still won't be enough for the Hydras to kill them off. But this is about as good as it ever was gonna get for this ground army of Reynor. And even then, still a difficult fight. Still, a lack of detection is the defining characteristic. The mothership is not in position to cloak the Nexus. It will be abandoned to die to the Lurkers, and the Lurkers will retreat. Reynor maintains a supply lead, and he got 23 probes alongside the base. Make no mistake, unlike Hero here, leaving a lot of his units out to dry, but Reynor is forcing the issue by being everywhere all the time. He's just a couple steps too quick, and Hero is getting caught out. Reynor is predicting where Hero will be and is already taking advantage of the potential mistakes before they happen. All right, sometimes this style backfires. If Reynor's up against a well-entrenched player who simply is not going to take damage to the small counterattacks, like we're talking like 5-6 cannons, multiple Templar at this stage, but that's not what Hero has. He hasn't been able to put together that level of defenses. All right, his cannons are more like cannots. His Nexi are few and far between, as he continually has to rebuild them. His probe count is... Reynor is still struggling to put the supply on the field. So far, he's lost 6,000 more resources, which, in this matchup, is not particularly inefficient. Fighting against the Storm, as well as the Tempest. But now the Corruptors. 9 Corruptors. You've got to toe the line. It's a careful balance, puns intended, with how many Corruptors you want to build. The Nidus. Hero expanding to the bottom right. I don't even know if that Nidus is about the base. Oh, it is. For sure. But Hero has managed to evade vision all the way up towards Reynor's base over at the 9 o'clock position. But the Corruptors will be revealed. There are no air upgrades at all for Hero. Yanks at a Tempest. Get over here. And another one. Knocks him down with ease. 1 feedback. 1 storm. Not enough. Reynor putting on a clinic of late game Zerg right now. Hero, despite having the right army, has never been in the right place at the right time. The Lurkers have kept him at bay. He's sniped off the key units, and it is a fragile, fragile place for Protoss to be without that late game economy. More Lurkers recalled to the base. Nope. Turns around immediately upon seeing the recall. And now, the mothership is patrolling in the corner of the map, potentially to reposition. Or maybe it's just had enough. Tectonic destabilizers is done. The Tempest shelling the hatchery. May take it out. But Reynor is starting to coalesce. There's a Nidus in the main base. And he recalls to the mothership on the other side of the map. A mass recall. Hero with a desperation move. But a similar army supply. And it's about as close as he's going to get to the death ball being put together. Meanwhile, a few stalkers on the right. The fleet beacon and the stargates will be eviscerated by the Lurkers. No more Tempests, no more motherships, and no more Templar. This army must win the game or die trying. And it is the army to get that done if he ever needed it. But the fact that Reynor's currently gutting the tech while only losing his extraneous bases, sure, it's very important for Reynor to have those bases, assuming Hero still could build any units. But that assumption is untrue. He still has to pick apart the death ball. 1 more time. The Knight is right there. Here comes Reynor from every side. Corruptor splitting the difference. Time warp storm across the board. More storms on top of everything, but the Lurkers are able to close in on the Tempest. The mothership is knocked out of the sky. A Congress of Corruptors closes in on the Tempest, and Hero's supply plummets into double digits, and his chances of winning drastic go down. I really thought it'd be lower, but he warps in another round of zealots. They won't last. It won't be enough. The lurkers. It's just stalkers and zealots left over as the lurkers are still cutting through the infrastructure. The immortal is not enough. Its name a lie. The lurkers slicing through the zealots, outnumbered by the changelings. Okay, wait. More units are popping out of the Nidus. He actually gets the bait. Okay, wait a second. So a lot of Reynor's supply is in corruptors. Oh no. I was really winding up to Hero tapping out of the game. But Hero, okay, so how many corruptors are there? 11 corruptors, 22 army supply. Now, some of these lurkers on the high ground, a few Zerglings. They never got adrenal glands, but Reynor has not been heavy on the Zerglings. That's more than enough to take down the Nexus, though. Probes. Unfortunate time to transfer. And, well, this leaves a Hero in the same situation, but much worse. He can't keep up with Reynor's 74-pronged attacks. More prongs than a silverware store right now, and Hero is, he's left once again with a base trade scenario against lurkers. Are we participating in the final battle, Brenda? Yeah, I guess. Why has it come to this? I like to think of it as a positive, really. Like, when do we get to participate? Literally all the time, Susan. Sorry. Whacked out for Reynor really trying to make sure he's not getting bamboozled here, but there's literally no Templar. The upgrades are pretty mediocre overall, just +1 shields alongside the weapons. The lurkers are mostly uncontested. He might have protection, but there's just simply not enough stalkers to deal with this. The upgrades have been so low the entire game. It's just 1-2 right now for Reynor. +1 melee and +2 ranged attack. But he's got double the supply. Hero doesn't have any tech left. He's back at those stalkers. Those pesky stalkers that started it all. And to an extent almost ended it. The emotional support field thrown out at the end. But this is the end of Hero for now. GG. Reynor rips him apart. And Hero looking pretty shaky throughout the game. Reynor not missing a beat, though. Every single moment that he could have taken advantage of the situation, he did. He caught the mothership. He was in position to force the mistakes. And that, like, that's at least 8/9/10 of success. Or so my motivational posters that I make for myself say. Jimmy, quickly, before they think too hard. Game 2 on Persephone. I want to point out that Hero is using the SOS portrait, which is pretty hilarious to me. He's not his team, but SOS, which is quite an inspiration to have. What is this? Are we walling off? So this map has an indicator for where you should wall off if you want to do like a normal Protoss wall with like a pylon, 2 gates, and a cyber with enough gap for a zealot to snugly sit in there. But as a big hater of Protoss architectural choices, check my manifesto. Hero is doing the quick wall, which you use a pylon in order to be able to wall off with just a gate and a cyber, so you get the wall off quicker. And then eventually, most sane Protoss will build another gate to tighten it up here. All right, really just screw it in. But Hero seems to forget that part about half the time, or conscientiously objects to the idea. I'm not sure which it is, but I assume it's whichever one's worse. But here we are. The probe and the drones. So when you see this, what's happening is the mineral patch, okay, it's not tied to anyone. When a worker comes up to the mineral patch, it's like, hey, I want to get a taste of those minerals. And the mineral patch is like, oh my. It doesn't matter who. All right, so the probe is essentially teasing the mineral patch. We call this blue mineraling. But in the mineral patch, when a drone comes up after the probe is teasing it, say, hey, I'm taken. All right, because only one worker at a time can mine from the patch. That's how it works. So if you do it perfectly, you don't screw up your build even 1 second back at home, what you can do here is deny potentially several minerals from your opponent by forcing the drones to bounce off and not mine efficiently. And, of course, you can take 5 more home yourself. So if the game comes down to 5 minerals, guess who it was? And it has the added side effect of very much annoying your opponent, which, intangible value. I think probes, like, in terms of unit to blood pressure increase, probes definitely, far and away, the most dangerous unit in the game. Like, there is no unit, not a mothership, not a ghost, not a battle cruiser, that has the same level of stress attached to a single one, especially in terms of cost, as the probe. Not an adept. Because that probe can warp an entire base. And 2, that entire base just might be a bunch of cannons. But either way, a single adept casually strolls in. Ugh. If he doesn't put another gate in front of here, what I'm gonna do is be unhappy. It's not a big deal, but it's also not a small deal. Adepts tucking themselves into the minerals. Oracle, driven away. The Zerglings. It's gonna chew on the Nexus for a bit. Oh no. I noticed that there weren't 2 gases at the natural. It's time for the obligatory 50 Shades with Glaived game. Here we are. Maybe I'll hit them with the Glaiveds this time. A strategy that can very much work. It's one of those out of the Protoss bag of cheese offenders that can't go within 500 yards of a Terran building. One of those things that barcodes do on the ladder and Hero does in professional matches that has still a dangerously close to 50% or more win rate. Glaived Adepts, unscouted or even scouted sometimes, are an existential threat to the Zerg. Sometimes even if you do scout them, the overreaction can lead to a detrimental situation. But, of course, if you don't know about them, that's even worse. So, already, a Roachworn is on the way. This Zergling, well, that's a bit of a giveaway. He's throwing mad shade right now. What? Reynor gave way too much respect to Hero here. That is definitely not a wall, but I don't think Reynor expected that. Speaking of walls, Reynor successfully built one. Wait, no. Nobody has a wall. That wasn't a wall either. Well, the Adepts, a lot of them already going down. And 5 probes dead. And the rest of the Zerglings and... Well, the Adepts will shade into the main, but I don't... Somehow Reynor has killed just as many workers as Hero, who has gone mass Adept. Now, Hero actually has more workers back at home, and he killed 5 more with that next set of Adepts. Like, just 2 Adepts are such a dangerous threat. So Hero's been consistently building probes back at home. He was by no means all in here, but he did kind of drunkenly stumble his way into that timing. The Queens and Lings, I am highly amused that both players, I think, didn't recognize the other one hadn't walled off. with their awkward way of doing so. Great minds think most alike. So what's the damage? Reynor's lair is severely delayed. He's not going to have roach speed for quite a while. Just now getting +1 melee. Meanwhile, Hero has plenty of probes. A very obvious blink follow-up, but that doesn't make it that much less effective. He's going to have a quick Templar Archives as well. A classic tactic, quite literally. Enough adepts to help ward away any sort of, and he never built the gate. He's supposed to build it anyways. Using the Oracle in order to detect the creep tumors at the edge. Reynor with roach speed on the way. Infestation pit as well. Storm begins. Charge. We got all the fix. Somehow we're going to end up with better upgrades than the entirety of last game, despite the circumstances. Alright. Hive begins. Obscenely quick. Is he going to go Ultras? Because there's no Hydralisk Den. I guess... What? Adrenal glands. I mean, Zerglings are good, especially against Stalkers. Even with Storm on the field, it's a quantity situation. Did he? He blinks out at the last moment, right before the corrosive bows land, but then the Zerglings just wrap around and grab him again. Lights up the Oracles, but the Stalkers are already torn asunder. A single Stalker. No Stalker survives. Storm done in 5 seconds. But Hero just... Reynor killed... Oh, corrosive bile killed 3 Zerg. I was wondering. Hero moving out on the map. I'm very interested to see what this Hive tech amounts to. As Viper's a questionable choice against Templar. There's really not that many options. Reynor expanding pretty much everywhere. He's already got 4 bases going on 5. There's the fleet beacon. Out of Hero. Working his way up to the top of the tech tree as things kind of slowed down. The Oracle patrolling past the air blocker. And an Ultralisk cavern alongside Adrenal Glands. As Reynor looking to overrun the field with the strongest possible Zerg. Storm softens up some of the lings. He dodges out of the rest. Actually manages to dodge the animation. This time around, Hero not slouching on the air upgrades. Reynor at 75 drones. Ultras, quite good. And, well, the robotics facility started after the Ultralisk cavern, which means there might be a window here. The Storm's coating the field, but he manages to weather it. Wades through. The Templar surrounded. And Hero might lose another clutch of Stalkers. 4 Templar. Dozens of charge thoughts, as well as some Stalkers at the natural. Hero! What is this? He's defending the Evo chambers like it's his own Walla. Another move straight out of Hero's Forrest Gumpian School of Protoss is to convince your enemy that you are their friend by defending their base with your units. Well, there's a Mothership, a Tempest, an Immortal, 3 Ultras, and Chitinous Plating on the way. Not on the same side, obviously, though that'd be very interesting. And now we have the classic 5 Stalker, 1 Oracle timing attack. Nidus, Oracle, Stalkers wake up to the high, and over here we have also whoever's left. The Ultra is going to be popping out. Oracle stasis in a crazy positioning, but Reynor recognizes it. Just triggers the stasis, doesn't care too much. Big stasis, but Daddy's home. Hero at 144 supply, and the Ultras are trundling across the map. The Zerglings will rip apart the Archons. The Storm's trying to ward it away. But the Ultras will just be waiting right through. They shrug it off. Sure, Storm does full damage, and not enough. The mothership overhead, active cloaking could help. There's no detection here, but the Ultras just go everywhere else. The Immortal holding the door for now. If only there was a gateway to protect it in this scenario. The cloaking will, I guess, be helpful for a moment. He protects the wall, but there's a Ultralisk in the third. The Ultra is taken out of the natural. Another Ultra at the fourth. They're absolutely everywhere all of the time. But the Immortal's blasting through. We'll take out yet another Ultra. Hero trying to scrap together the defense, but everything's falling apart so quickly. He's losing probes left, right, and center. The base is completely overrun. The Ultra cleaving through the entirety of the economy. The Immortal cloven in twain as well. There's a Nidus in the main. He just piles it on. When it rains, it pours, and Hero is drowning, which I didn't even know Protoss were capable of doing. An absolute flood of Zerglings with Ultras for extra drama and danger. Recharges the Oracle. The Zealots in the main. And again, Reynor is not... He's not able to outright overwhelm Hero. But it should be enough. It finally just breaks through. There's not enough anywhere to stop this. Well, besides that base, but, you know, generally. Loses the Nexus. Loses 40 probes. Oracle just giving a deep tissue massage to the Ultralisks. The robotics facility is technically vulnerable. There's another Nidus in the main. Reynor only at 160 supply, which is more than enough, but he's not maxed out. So if this goes particularly badly, at 69 drones, he's got a nice economy, but not a iron bank to fall back on. It's bad, though. Hero does have a Nexus in the top right corner that's completely unscouted by Reynor. So if there's one thing that maybe... He's dead, Jim. 3-3 is done for the Ultras and Zerglings. They have adrenal glands. The fully upgraded adrenalings. 4 infestors and neural parasite on the way. You know that mothership in Reynor's production tab doesn't seem that impossible now. This is restricted lair space by order of the Hatchery Owners Association. Oracles can't be around these parts. Karen, what did we say? There's a noise ordinance. I feel like every time you talk, it's just noise, Brenda. 1, hurtful. 2, we have the same voice. I'd like to see you prove it. It's hearing. I don't. Sorry. I am blacked out for a moment. Spire being made. Great again. Reynor still well, he just gave it away. He tried to transfer the probes. The Zerglings were there. Reynor finds the lifeline base. And I assume the Ultras are on the way. I assume correctly. He's got 3-4 Ultras to the right, 3 Ultras to the left, and Hero actually has quite a scary army still. Hero just doesn't die, which is the first step to winning. But there's quite a journey, a marathon to be run, and Hero... The mothership... Well, it can't be neural parasitic. Reynor rips him apart and tosses the scraps aside as we go straight to match point. A decisive victory for Reynor. Looking more one-sided than a Mobius strip. Hero had nothing on that game. Even the Glaived adepts, which came in right when it looked like Reynor really didn't have that much to defend. Instead, Hero ends up taking more damage on the other side. He ends up losing probes to a few Zerglings. It's more problems than it solves. Match point for the Italian Stallion. Sometimes. Sometimes, hero. He looks like a drunken genius. Sometimes he only looks like half of that. Even despite it, like, it's part of his tenacity. His hero, even when he makes mistakes, he's so used to it, he recovers so quickly. There's a scenario there, if Reynor's a little bit slower, a little bit less decisive, that hero still has an army that's dangerous. Like, he was only down 40, 50 supply and only like 20 army supply, which sounds like a lot, but considering it's a Zerg player who can't just remax out over and over again, all it takes is one mediocre fight for the Protoss to potentially carry that momentum all the way to victory, if not an advantage. So, hero finds himself in that situation a lot. He drags his opponents down and beats them with experience. But I think Reynor's a bit too slippery for that. Also, I do feel like we've seen in the last couple months Reynor stepping it back up again. I do feel like he lost some motivation after the World Cup last year. He spent some time in a new league, Legends. But has always been a top, like, he's one of the most talented, if not in that very, like, him and Clem, the most talented players. But of course, if you don't apply that talent by practicing and working on keeping the edge, it's not as effective. But it really feels like Reynor is back and focused at the World Cup coming up soon. Possibly one of the last big opportunities in the near future for a real prize pool, so he's certainly making it look good. But of course, I would not put it past Hero to be sandbagging a bit. I really don't know. It's like his frenemy Dark, which unfortunately, as his obligatory military service as of like a month ago, and we'll be without him for a year and a half or so. But I can never tell, and none of them have conclusively answered how much of the sloppiness, the kind of uniquely chaotic style is method, and how much of it is just madness. Like Hero at, I believe, 33? There's that classic. It's all Protoss players nowadays, but in his 30s, like many of you watching this, or further along, probably not as mechanically precise. But again, that means he gets into these crazy situations, and he gets himself out of them just as often, if not more so. There's a reason he is pretty decisively the #1 Protoss, though Classic is making up ground very fast. Max Packs dropped off a little lately. Oh, yeah. I think Classic may overtake everyone soon, TM, but... What is this? What is this, Hero? Why? This wall is technically. Well, it's not going to be Glaived adepts this time. Now, where are we going, Mr. Hero? Tell me about this wild ride. Dives in. Twilight Council Forge. Roach Warrant Evolution Chamber. When you kind of run out of topics and you got to fill the airtime, you start reading off the production tab. And maybe remember that not everyone has played SC2 or watched every single video for the last year, and there are actually some new players. So this is a fake. The shady bunch here, just to force out some extra Zerglings, keep control of the situation, limit the drone count. The Oracles are doing a great job of a lot of that already, and he just showed Glaived adepts, so the threat is there. But Reynor's already at 55 drones. But the reason it wasn't going to be Glaives, or unlikely, is because if you take the gases as Protoss at your natural at around 4 minutes, that's almost always a blink build. You could kind of fake it. The Overlord might or might not scout it, but it is an expense. And most builds, once again, we already talked about Heroes builds, but many builds are worked out to within a few seconds. So the timing of those gases is a very solid indicator of what direction, especially Protoss, is going, which has a pretty figured out flowchart at this point. And the blink is just good for everything. Like blink stalkers will defend you against early all-ins. The oracles with energy recharge ability defend against the early lings, even roaches in smaller numbers, but if they're more committed, we get up to lair tech with hydras or even some sort of clean all-ins. The oracles aren't the be-all end-all. All right, that's when you need something a little meatier. Though some players have been skipping straight to Tempest, I feel like that was kind of trying to counter meta for a little bit, as Zerg players skipping straight to the end game. We're getting a bit too greedy. Okay, that's the give and take of the matchup. But now a Hydralisk down is on the way. He does have the Roach Worm. Did he build any roaches? No. 54 Zerglings from Reynor. Blink is done, +1 as well. And you're going to lose a few Overlords, but not even near being supply blocked. Hydra's on the way. +1 armor is the choice. That's interesting. Does not have charge lots on the way behind. The probes will dive into the gas at a huge stasis. Stop right there, criminal scum. A whole bunch of the Zerglings are caught. Reynor's counterattack is mostly shut down by the Oracle. And now, a stasis this... Get off my creep! The Queens take down one of the Oracles. Another stasis will be targeted. There were so many Hero. How did the Zerglings get in? Who did they bribe? Hero didn't have anything in the wall, and now will be forced back. The main base under attack. Here, you can't let the Zerglings in. All right? Like... This time around, Reynor's got his number. And it's just... There's way too many Hydras. The damage is already done. Hero may be able to eventually whittle this down, but they won't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Hydras and Lings streaming across the map. Stalkers do not stand up to them. Their advantage is mobility, but they're backed up against the corner of the base. The probes are already dead. The production isn't there. And Hero, unless he has a very, very dangerous rabbit in his hat right now, and that rabbit is a Colossus or two with extended thermal lance and +3 attack, I think is going to be swept from the field. The Stalkers chased down by the Hydras. GG. Reynor takes 3. And you thought Hero would turn it around. You were looking at the time on these games, and you're like, oh, well, Hero's not going to go down 3-0 to Reynor. Okay, Hero, the best No. Well, maybe the best Protoss can take him. As our anti-spoiler bonus series. For comparison, Reynor versus Classic. Hero clearly making some mistakes, but Reynor very on top of taking advantage of them. Classic right now, possibly, well, considering he beats Cyril and Rogue, both of these two things Hero has not done this year in the recent past. I do think Classic actually has the best Protoss versus Zerg. He is a shield Protoss, which I don't know. Max Pax is the only other shield Protoss, and he's kind of more from a YOLO toss to a shield toss. Let me explain those terms. YOLO toss are people that play either intentionally or unintentionally, like insane players. Almost always Protoss historically, and the most successful Protoss, MC, Partick, SOS, Hero, Zest, players who may commit to that dumb all-in you think they're doing, simply because you think they're doing it, and don't believe they will actually commit. Like, they will just do that crazy strategy. Classic, on the other hand, a shield toss, like stats, like Neeb, like max pegs nowadays, and, well, like Classic. The players who, like, I have my macro build, and if I execute it well, you will not be able to beat it. And that, to an extent, feels how Classic is playing nowadays. Now, again, there's the big asterisk of the World Cup coming up, which I guarantee you there are some players hiding builds. Like, we're either going to see ridiculous strategies from the top players that we have over the last couple weeks, or stock standard. Just completely ladder, like, spammable strats. And so far, that's kind of what we saw in Reynor versus Hero. Almost exactly the standard meta, what you're almost certain to see on the ladder if you play past the cannon rush phase. So, both players, real contenders. I mean, compared to, say, Cyril and Clem, definitely not the favorites. But far, like, of the players besides Cyril and Clem, I think Hero, Reynor, and Classic are probably the top 3 contenders this year. They all have that danger factor. Who knows? Maybe Maru will show up again. Maru winning DreamHack and then not playing in any tournaments. Well, he actually just lost in GSL outright. Like, but he won DreamHack. So we'll see. And, of course, if you got some highlight games, well, if you see some highlights, I'm intentionally not going to be watching the games until probably the playoffs, or at least the, like, Final Four, because I don't want to spoil myself, and because I don't watch games beforehand, except for the finals of many tournaments, because I'm a fan. Like, I'm not going to hold off, but should have the ability to relive them afterwards as well. Classic commits to the shade. The double adept, but the Zerglings are already there. The Queens will combine with the Zerglings too. So this trend of sending the adepts in and committing to the shade, I don't like it. All right, I'll say it. I'll say it out there. I don't like it. I think it's silly. I think it's like if the Terrans sent in the Hellions every time. All right? I don't think it's worth it. I think once out of like 5 games, but it feels like it's almost every game. And this is why. This is part of why. Is now the Zerglings come straight across the map. And Classic got greedy. He sent the first Oracle across to get the follow-up damage done. If he had left it at home and sent the second Oracle, that Nexus would not have been slowed. And thank you for walling off like a sane person, Classic. I do appreciate it. That's how it's... I mean, a little bit of an odd one, but that's what I mean by the 2-gate Cybercore. And a little greedy. Reynor, playing on the more conservative side of things, only now adding the drones. He made sure he had enough links. The Oracle sliding by the Queens. That Spore! Reynor actually targeted. Get up, boy! Brenda, are you okay? When people ask that, they don't want an honest answer, okay? They just want you to say, yeah, I'm fine. Well, I'm not fine! So... You see that, right? Glaived adepts. Here we go! Deja vu. Well, this was played on a different day. I don't believe this was the same day of the tournament. But the Glaived adepts now may come as a surprise to Reynor. But will that matter? There's a baneling nest on the way. Reynor seems to be getting some indicators that, well, a bunch of adepts coming across the map may also be an indicator, but just mass Zergling out of Reynor. The Glaived headed towards that top right corner. So many Zerglings. It's just going to be a baneling bust. So Reynor, either as a prediction or just as a build entirely, is already kind of soft countering. The banelings are a great option against adepts, but they're not done yet. The Zerglings with +1 are helpful, but they're not there. The drone's on the run. He's actually committing to the shade at the natural. On the adepts, well, they force out a lot of Zerglings. 26 more lings on the way. It's not like the adepts can kill a chunk of the Zerglings on their own. Oh, but the banelings! The splits, but classic. Kind of stumbles around. He takes some splash damage across. Now, this is starting to add up. Storm is halfway done back at home. But Reynor has 5 hatcheries now. Which is a whole lot of Zergling production. Or drones, you know. Either way. Bit of both. Is baneling speed? No, no baneling speed. Actually a little surprising. You don't really want to go banelings unless you have to. Banelings don't age well. Ideally, they don't age at all. Because a baneling that grows old is a baneling you wasted your gas on when you could be getting anything else that attacks more than once. So ideally, you build a baneling and immediately it explodes in a valuable situation. Alright, that is the ideal use of banelings. Obviously, that is not a regular occurrence. But there's a reason Reynor is not just building him for the sake of it. If he doesn't think he can get counter damage, or he doesn't need to defend an attack, there's no reason to be spending your gas on those banes. Classic is battening down the hatches, though. Hydra's in production, Bane speed and Hydra speed now. As Reynor, 92 drones. Wow, that is... Ooh. Filling up those 5 bases obscenely quickly. Reynor was let off the leash after defending those adepts. And here we are. This is a Zerg dream. This is what... Zerg players only want one thing. Okay, and this is it. 5 bases, 92 drones, lair tech. And it's actually useful. This is a Zerg fantasy most days. Gets on top of the Templar, gets one before even the Storm's another one. Classic already struggling. Here come 15 Banes. Reynor is maxed out at 9.5 minutes. Yep, that's a lot of Hydras. 15. Whoa. Baneling speed is done. Fleet Beacon is optimistic. +2 ground attack. But Reynor, 26 Hydras, 60 Zerglings, 20 Banelings. And here we go. Trying to ward away the northern side. Classic has put together a very solid setup to try to defend this. But does he have the numbers? The Hydras waiting down the ramp. Banelings trickling in, forcing out the Storms, and takes out the Templar before the merge. He tried to have his cake and eat it too, and then he realized he had no mouth with which to do so. The Banelings roll in. The probes evaporate. The rest on the run straight into the Hydra spines, and Classic plummets to 99 supply. Our Hydra's coming up. The Storms are not enough. The Stalkers are not enough. The Cannons were not enough. And the not charged lots are certainly not enough. Reynor will run over yet another Protoss as the Zerglings continue to stream across. And Classic warps in the Adepts with Glaives. A surprisingly useful choice at this stage. You know, the presence of mind to go for the Glaived Adepts in this exact scenario against a bunch of light units like Hydras and Lynx, I think worth it. As trying to get Templar under that carriers. Optimistic. 26 more banelings as Reynor is coming in for another pass. He's not done, but Classic may very well be. I don't think the best way to counter 12 carriers is to never let them get there, says the most annoying advice in the history of StarCraft. And here we go. The Lings and Banes. There's no Templar at the now third base. Well, I guess it was always the third, but the Adept's doing a pretty good job of zoning out the banelings, but look at that spread. It's like trickles of butter drizzled over a pancake. And right now, Classic is getting burnt. Like a poorly cooked pan. Anyway, Reynor with a decisive victory. And running over arguably the best Protoss versus Zerg player. Another half-hearted... I don't know. It looks half-hearted when it fails so spectacularly. But Reynor just completely picking apart the Glaived Adepts. And going up 1-0. It's just... It definitely works as much... It just looks... It's one of those builds... It's like Hellbats. Or Roach Allens. One of those early game builds that when it fails, it looks really bad. Like, why did you even try? There is no kind of fallback option. Not easily with Glaived Adepts. Just like those others. And now, we go back to Persephone. With Reynor showing a command over the matchup and almost Cyril-like. You know, it's very different. Like, Cyril feels so meticulous when he plays. Reynor feels like 1,000 hornets just stinging you constantly. Cyril is sandpaper or quicksand. Something sand-related. Coarse and irritating and still gets everywhere, but kind of subtle about it. Reynor, not as subtle. Definitely not as subtle. Even though it's the exact same units at similar timings. It's about style, baby. Well, as long as we don't see Glaived Adepts again, I'll consider this a pretty decent example. I do feel Glaived Adepts are the best way to play in these, like, less high-profile tournaments while still hiding your strategies, because it's the same sort of build we've seen for 5 years. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows you may bring it out at random times. It's not... It still has a good chance to win while showing absolutely nothing of your plan for more major tournaments. I mean, Reynor has also just standard Zerg macro. There's only so many options. With Oracles and Adepts both limiting the Zerg options early, you can't really get away with any sort of early aggression, as the Oracles will shut it down entirely. And if you get too greedy or tech up too fast, you don't have the basic anti-air to defend against Oracles, which will find the weakness, and it will kill enough of your drones to invalidate any sort of other advantage. There's no hiding from the revelations of the Oracle. Marginally profound. Like and subscribe for more marginal profundity. And less usage of that word, which is technically a classic. I say this, please cover your children's ears. Though they probably should hear this, especially if they play Protoss. Classic, what the fuck? What, is every Protoss player playing with a broken controller? Okay. Do you have the mag cats with the broken thumbstick when you're trying to build your wall? Does Hero just pass it over so you get the shitty controller when you're playing? What is going... Don't. Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I'm gonna be very upset. Where's the forge? There's no way. The Twilight is too late to go Glaves. Is this like an Archon build? Or wait, okay. Somewhat delayed blink. No, Reynor's already at 58 drones and counting. Classic with a very greedy third. Putting on... so Classic has been relying on his late game. He's always been a late game player. The tech up to carriers as quickly as possible. We even saw it there. He even tried it, but... Reynor is taking full advantage. He's gonna see all this. He sees... Wait, did he see the gases? No. But... a few Zerglings on the way, but he's still punching out drones. Bases 4 and 5 in production. +1 melee as well, joining it. That Templar Archives is important, but... Reynor should be able to get the Hydra Den right off the bat. They're just finished. There's the baneling nest as well. Stalkers. Be able to delay the 4th base potentially. Shouldn't be enough Zerglings here. One of the Overlords taken out. Stasis Ward to cover the retreat. Things getting a bit dicey. Triggers the stasis. There's another one. Lights up the oracles. Queen's helping out. There's enough for a transfuse. Big stasis. Gets the hatch. And, well, there's no blink. These are actually... Oh, gets the oracle. Bit of a haphazard fight. Recalls the stalkers before everything can come out of stasis. He knows about the base in the bottom right corner. Losing the oracle a bit sloppy. But Classic gets a good pick off even before blink is done. The Templar. He recharged one, but forced to cancel the 4th base. Reynor, of course he has the Zerglings. You attacked him. Classic caught by surprise, but Reynor mass expanding. Zerglings working on the rocks. Dozen Hydras on the way. Classic with 76 probes, so no slouch himself economically. Every bit of delay on the 4th base is very important when it comes to teching up his Protoss, though. You really need that extra gas, as Hero showed. Zerglings just gnawing on all the rocks. Not a big fan of natural geology. Fleet Beacon is on the way, but Reynor is going to have Hive already. And the Lurker Den. And the Lurker Den. I guess you could just go Hydro Wing. At this point, Reynor has, I was going to say has huge economic lead, but Classic has 85 probes to 84 drones at the moment. Though Reynor mining from multiple bases, including the gold. The Templar, Storms, Hydras don't seem to care. A tide of Zerg is rolling in. The Storm can't turn it around. Not enough energy for multiple Storms. Coming in with the banelings. No baneling speed. Bit of an oversight there, but Classic caught out on the map by the sheer amount of Zerg. The Archons get caught in the corner. And the power underwhelming. Classic overrun. Reynor able to punch out 200 supply of Hydraling Bane with Hive on the way. 9 minutes in the game. Just obscenely quick in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, he may have forgotten baneling speed, but that's just sporting of him at this point. So many. He just completely overruns him. There's just nothing. He just dies. And that's it. It's over. You can tell. Your mother's singing. So, Reynor just rolls over the top 2 Protoss in the world. I don't think it was their best day, but it was nothing flashy. Reynor just looking incredibly solid. He's taken some wins off Clem lately, though they've gone back and forth, to be clear. We'll see if he can bring it all to the table when it matters most. But today, making Zerg look easy against the best Protoss out there. Not even really remotely close. 5 games out of 5. Well, hopefully you enjoyed. And if you got the means of motivation, you can Zerg Rush, Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free, at least for now. So thank you to our Mule tier patrons, bringing in the extra minerals, Big Jiggy, Devin Door, Kate, Mario, Random Guy, Suit, and everyone. Glad you still enjoy. I hope I made your day just a little bit better, and I hope to see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.